Scrum is a modern way of teamwork for product delivery. Based on the official definition, Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. Here, complex means there are more unknowns than nouns in such problems. So, we need a new way of working. Here, I mean Scrum. Scrum is founded based on empiricism and lean thinking. Empiricism means using past facts and evidence to make upcoming decisions. It uses an iterative incremental approach. If this is your first time here, I am Mehdi with Professional Mind Coaching. Everything I do is designed to help IT professionals create a high-performing identity. One way I do that is by sharing my attitude-building lessons every Tuesday. In these lessons, I share informative materials and strategies that help you move toward a professional life of abundance, freedom, and excellence, just like in this lesson today. So, if you are enjoying the content so far, it would be a huge help if you hit subscribe and like buttons right now, as it really helps to get our content out there. Moreover, if you know a friend, colleague, or relative who has a burning desire to build a professional attitude, share this content with them, as these materials have a huge impact on people. They will never forget your work. Benefits of Scrum are managing risks, optimizing predictability, validating assumptions frequently, in-time adaptation, continuous improvement, continuous stakeholder involvement, and better team morale. In Scrum, we pick a selection of work for an iteration and create a usable done increment. Then we deliver it to stakeholders to get feedback. Based on the feedback, we adapt our next step. Then repeat the process. Empirical way of working needs three pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation. You can compare it with thermostat working mechanism. Scrum elements are categorized into three categories as Scrum Team, Scrum Events, and Scrum Artifacts. A Scrum Team. The fundamental unit of a Scrum is a small team of people. A Scrum Team consists of three accountabilities of one Scrum Master, one Product Owner, and developers. It is cross-functional and self-managing. Cross-functionality means that Scrum Team members together have all required skills to create value each sprint. In addition, self-management means they internally decide who does what, when, and how. The Scrum Team size is typically 10 or fewer members. The entire Scrum Team is accountable for creating a valuable and useful increment every sprint. Developers are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. The product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product. He or she is also accountable for the product backlog management. And finally, a Scrum Master is accountable for establishing a Scrum. In addition, he or she is accountable for the Scrum Team's effectiveness. Plus, they are true leaders serving the Scrum Team and the larger organization. Scrum Events. There are 5 events in a Scrum. Each event is a formal opportunity for inspection and adaptation. Let's get started with a sprint. A sprint is the heartbeat of a Scrum and the container for other events. It is the word that Scrum uses for iteration. Each sprint is 1 month at most. The main purpose of a sprint is to create a usable done increment. Indeed, if we wanted to squeeze Scrum into just one sentence, it would be creating done increment. Sprint planning is an event that the entire Scrum team collaboratively creates a plan for the sprint by inspecting the product backlog and other inputs. Three topics of why, what, and how are addressed in this event. Their answers create the sprint backlog. Its time box is maximum 8 hours for a 1 month sprint and is usually shorter for shorter sprints. Daily Scrum is a 15-minute event for developers in which the progress toward the sprint goal is inspected and the upcoming work is adapted. Sprint review is an event that entire Scrum team and stakeholders inspect the increment and progress toward the product goal and adapt the product backlog. It is a collaborative session seeking feedback and new learning. Its time box is maximum 4 hours for a 1 month sprint and is usually shorter for shorter sprints. Sprint retrospective is the last event with the purpose of finding ways to enhance quality and effectiveness. The entire Scrum team identifies the most helpful changes to be addressed as soon as possible. It is an event to focus on continuous improvement by inspecting and adapting individuals, interactions, tools, processes, and finally the definition of done. Its time box is maximum 3 hours for 1 month sprint and is usually shorter for shorter sprints. Scrum Artifacts. Artifacts represent work or value. They are designed to maximize the transparency of key information. There are 3 artifacts in Scrum. Each artifact has a commitment. The commitment exists to bring focus and transparency against which the progress can be measured. The first artifact is product backlog, which is an emergent ordered list of work necessary for the product improvement. Product backlog refinement is an activity by which detail is added to the product backlog items to have always an actionable product backlog. Product goal is the commitment of the product backlog and is the future state of the product. You can see it as the long-term objective for the Scrum team. A sprint backlog is the second artifact and is composed of the sprint goal, forecast, and a plan. It is highly visible, real-time picture of the work. It is updated throughout the sprint when more is learned. A sprint goal is the commitment of the sprint backlog and is the single objective for the sprint. It does not change during the sprint. However, it provides flexibility to negotiate the scope of the work within the sprint if needed. In addition, it brings focus and coherence to the team, encouraging them to collaborate. Increment is the last artifact, which is a concrete step toward the product goal. The increment brings transparency to the progress, helping the Scrum team validate its assumptions. In order to provide value, the increment should be usable. The work can't be part of the increment unless it meets the definition of done. The definition of done is the commitment of the increment. It is the formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. It increases transparency by bringing a common understanding of what usable and completeness means. Scrum Values. Scrum Values are the spirit of Scrum. It breathes life into the Scrum body. Without it, the way of using Scrum becomes mechanical. Scrum values are 5 values as commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage. These values give direction to the Scrum team with regard to their work actions, and behavior. When these values are embodied by the Scrum team and the people they work with, empiricism comes to life, building trust. Successful use of Scrum depends on the people becoming more proficient in living these values. Up to now, I have explained the various elements of Scrum. However, bear in mind that Scrum is more about behavior than process. So if you want to use Scrum effectively, you as a Scrum practitioner need to build a new set of constructive behaviors, which I call attitude.